Hey guys, how's it going today? I wanted to make a quick video on how and why I don't spend money. Now, I kind of, I guess I'm kind of cheating on the title a little bit here, but obviously we all spend money. But I think for me, I've really kind of optimized things to where um, I don't really spend too much at all, and I retain, 98 to 99% of my income as for savings and investment purposes, or having some intention behind why I'm exactly spending it. So not really just spending, for the sake of spending. So this might work really well for someone who is having trouble saving, and kind of just wanting a little bit of a mindset shift in terms of what kind of things they could do to help save money and instead of spending their money. So yeah, let's just get into it. So first point here is viewing growing wealth as a video game. Now I've done this with things like the gym, right? So for example, in GTA, you used to be able to, and you probably still do, but you used to be able to kind of build your character and have their stats essentially to where they were very strong at the gym, right? And I thought that was really cool, and that got me into the gym initially, and obviously other things kind of kept me in it. Education and I guess what else? Yeah, obviously money. Um, even things like, for example, if we're wanting to get into cars, for example, being able to purchase a car and improve it, on some racing game, or even potentially like if you're playing FIFA or some soccer game, being able to become really good at that one thing. It's just through practice and practice and practice, and just putting time towards it. You become really good, and you increase your stats in the video game, and that's how I kind of see it in real life. When you level up around others, above others, it becomes much easier to progress and win the game. So, for example, in Pokemon, which is a good example, when you're level 100 and you're versing level 50s, it's going to be much easier, right? Just because you've put in the work early, you've probably optimized for different situations. You've got different types of moves. You've got lots of different Pokemons and different variations that can kind of depending on the situation, work better than others. And that's exactly how I'm viewing money as well. So you're kind of, utilizing what you are doing at the time, whether it's income, whether it's a job, whether maybe maybe you have some assets that you're investing through, maybe you have some kind of maybe it's some social government kind of scheme that you're getting money through. Whatever it is, being able to optimize whatever that is, or look to see where the gaps are and then improving that way, right? Being able to compete against others pushes me further, almost like winning the video game. Again, I think healthy competition is really good. And in this case, being able to see those around you that are doing really well money wise, and then being able to, you know, compete and ideally do better, or if you don't reach their level, be much further than if you were to just not compete at all. Now obviously comparing all the time isn't a good thing, so in moderation I think can be really good, but as long as you're progressing in the right way and you have a healthy mindset about it, not such a bad thing. Another point here is that I'm also naturally very efficient and always seek to optimize for value in all ventures. So what I mean by that is pretty much whatever transaction I do, I always look at it in terms of what is the value output, and is it worth the dollar amount, or is it worth the time spent, everything, right? Even simply just getting the way I get into work in the morning, or maybe it's where do I go and sometimes pick up some cheap fast food. Like every little thing kind of has this value to cost comparison in my head, and that makes it really hard to just spend willy nilly. Um, because each dollar really does matter, especially when you're starting out. Now, if you are spending it, being super intentional about it is really important. So obviously, naturally, we all have different expenses as people to live, but do what you can to reduce it depending on your situation. So, for example, you can obviously, like, if you're renting somewhere expensive, you can move somewhere cheaper. Maybe it's a cheaper area, or maybe it's even outside the city. In some cases, people move outside the country. Okay. Some easy things would be, for example, going from a branded product to a maybe a cheaper brand, or a non-branded or a home brand product. That could work really well. Um, and obviously, you don't want to do it to where you're just miserable, but easy wins, like, and things that you spend money on that you probably don't need to, those could be things that are up for consideration. At 18, I really restricted all areas of my life, but only for 3 years. And now I'm starting to enjoy it. So I was enjoying before, but it was very restrictive and it was very intentional, just because as well you're on a lower salary compared to obviously when you get older. So they made it even trickier, right? But really, it was just head down and work to do everything you can to increase your income. That was the big focus for me, and it worked out really well. Okay. So just having that intention behind you. And also, when you work so much, and you might have multiple jobs and you might be studying as well, you don't really have too much time to spend money. You might spend a little bit here and there, but really there's not much opportunity because you're so focused on working, and you're at work all the time. Sounds a little bit weird, but it worked really well for me. If you can, live with parents or roommates, get a high paying job, and cut any wasted expenses. Obviously, this is the big three awesome things that could happen, but definitely possible. At least have roommates. It's definitely possible. Like, for example, when I travel, I live in hostels. I don't go to hotels. Get a high paying job. I mean, again, this isn't easy for everyone, but it might be that you pick up a job on the weekend, or you do Uber Eats, or you do a side hustle. It's just something else, okay? And then maybe combined, they end up, your full time job and your side hustle, they end up doing quite well, okay? And cut any wasted expenses. So again, anything that you can, be honest with yourself, look through your bank statements and say, do I really need this, or is this wasted, or could I do it cheaper? Okay. Last point here is that you have nothing to prove when you're young. So if you live, like you're poor, now's the time to do it. And that's exactly what I did. and I still do to some degree. I don't think there's any requirement to impress anyone ever, really. So you just kind of be you. And for me, that was, again, having that mindset of saving money and trying not to spend when it's not needed. And ultimately, I don't look poor, but I'm definitely not anyone fancy. All my clothes are branded, and I live very simply. Um, Very efficient though, so I get good quality food, good quality this, good quality that, but at a reasonable cost. Okay, so that's my ethos, I guess you could say. And the last point here is a sacrifice that will pay off in the future. So my why is looking at long term. We only get one shot. Do the work now for rest in the future. And not even just rest in the future, but also flexibility to do what you want. Obviously, times change, people change, we change, and we're not going to be the same people today as we are in 10 years' time. So being able to guarantee and lock in that you're financially okay now just means in the future you have that flexibility to pivot and do essentially what you want, which is awesome, which is an awesome privilege. This means maybe going part-time in a job, spending more time with family, or doing what I want. Like I said, it's a short-term thing, for a long-term gain. And because you get maximum flexibility, you could move to a new country, you could start a passion project, you could start a family, and full-time care, and some potentially even school your children. So a massive thing. Massive doors it could open. I ended up excuse me. I ended up traveling way more than my friends by just being more cost conscious plus saving more. So, for example, everyone from Australia would do Europe, and they would spend, 15, 20, 25, 30 grand. Whereas I did it with like 5 grand, because I took the budget airlines that were longer and they weren't as fancy, but they got the job done. I also stayed in hostels. I also just did everything cheaply. Instead of going out to buy at restaurants, I would go to the supermarket, and most of my tourist activities were free or low cost. So it was just very intentional. And did I get the same experience they did? No. But arguably, I got a better experience because theirs was filled with alcohol and just party. And I mean, yeah, you might have gone to Europe, but did you really go? You know? Last point here is I actually now enjoy the challenge of saving where I can. It's likely I'll never go broke / outspend myself. So yeah, like I said, it's kind of a game now, and there will be one point where I need to adjust that mindset and instead of accumulating, start offloading, start enjoying more and putting money towards things. But that's for another thing. So yeah, anyway, that's everything, guys. Hopefully you really enjoy it. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.